Hi, my name is Heather, and I am a real life and transformation coach. And I am super excited to share a conversation with Pearl today.
So excited to have Heather here today. Okay, so I'm going to introduce Heather. It's kind of a funny story right now. We're having some technical difficulties, and this is our second attempt. So, you guys, and Heather's been amazing, and that's why she is who she is. Heather is a transformation facilitator, coach, podcaster, and the Thriving Life Method creator. She seamlessly marries her background in corporate finance with her dedication to holistic health to help guide a transformative coaching experience for her clients. She has found her own escape from societal expectations of a career at the expense of our health and vitality, and now helps other midlife women to do the same. And as I said before, all this crazy technical stuff, Heather, this is such a great conversation I'm glad we're having today because, many women struggle with this. And I think even more now, more than even just midlife women. So I'm so excited. We're going to share this conversation and get started. So Heather, tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I always like to say, if you were to go back in time and look about, when you're a little girl and when you grow up, we have these things. I want to be a pilot. I want to be the president, whatever those dreams are. How does it correlate to what you do today? So when you look back, how does that relate to what you're doing today?
That's a super interesting question because when I was a little kid, I was going to be an artist and I was going to be a veterinarian because I couldn't decide. And I always make a joke, and what did I do? I became a CPA. Because that was the thing that you were supposed to do. You were supposed to go to university and you were supposed to have a career. And as if artists, people think you can't make a living as an artist. You can't be an artist. And I can't remember why they steered me into accounting versus being a veterinarian for some reason. And while I was there, it's funny, when I was in my final role, I was a senior director of finance and I was balancing billion-dollar budgets. Like it was crazy. And I was never very happy. But people, the mailroom guy specifically, would stop by and talk to me because, I would have a lava lamp in my office and I would talk to the mail guy about what he was working on and he was creating films. And I thought, oh, that's super interesting. Like have a conversation with me. So one day I was sitting in my office and I heard that the majority owner of our company was like how many billions of dollars he was worth. And at the time I was trying to balance a budget because head office wanted another $1 million and the managers and VPs that were sending me budgets didn't have another $1 million. So I'm like trying to figure out where to find $1 million. This seems surreal, right? And they said how rich he was. And I thought, well, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need another $1 million. I might have said a few swear words. And I just realized at that point, I might be good at what I'm doing because I can figure out things, but I don't like it. I don't enjoy it. I enjoyed the interacting with regular people. I enjoyed aspects of it, but the job itself was not fun. And I would spend 14 hours a day at my desk. So try as I might to stay healthy, going to the gym, doing all the things, I was not healthy. So one day first I started taking yoga for stress relief. After work, I would rush to yoga because I needed to relieve my stress. One day I ran a red light and actually almost hit someone. And I had no idea the light was red. This was the crazier thing, that I was driving through this light at this major intersection. And I'm like, why is this person in front of me? Aren't they paying attention? And then I realized it was me. So something had to change. Fast forward, I've now been teaching yoga for 20 years because when I just cut it all off. I'm like, I'm leaving corporate, quit my job. I went to India for 3 months and traveled around. I was teaching yoga. I became a registered massage therapist. So I went back to school for 2 years, actually. So that's the correlation of veterinary. Instead of treating animals, I was treating people. And I became a personal trainer. And fast forward some more, I actually retired recently from massage therapy. Long story, I had a stroke. It was too hard to still treat people. I still teach yoga and I've added in Tai Chi because they're so good for you and so non injurious if you do them right. And I still do some personal training. And then all the time that I was massaging people, I felt like a bartender because people would talk to me and ask me questions about their personal lives. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. And then one day, one of a massage therapist actually was asking me questions, and she said, Heather, you should teach people this. So boom, lights went on in my head, and I thought, gosh, you're right. I could teach people this. So I entered into coaching. And I originally started as a business coach because that was my background. And I was helping health and wellness people, massage therapists, because massage therapists, yoga teachers, all of these health people don't have a business background and would always struggle. So I thought I can teach them how to run their business properly so they don't struggle. Then in 2021, I had a stroke. And the situation was I was in the hospital for 3 days in the emergency room because there was no beds. No one could visit me because there was COVID. And so I had a 3-day silent retreat. And during that time, all of this stuff had time to settle. And I realized that's how I came out onto the world as the person I am now. Long, short story, short, long story.
That's what I want the listeners to hear is one of the things you said, like, here you are, you're working this job, this job, like 14-hour days, long days, and you're pouring into other people's pockets, you're pouring into things that they want and their goals and such. And then it's like, you realize, oh, this is not what I want. And like, to the point, like you became so, like you said, it was such a thing that you were like this robot, that this train, every day you went to this. It was like nothing new was going to change unless you made a change. And it slapped you in the face when it came to that red light, right? You were like, oh my gosh, it's like, here it is. And sometimes, we don't get that opportunity. Sometimes we're not given that red light to say, stop what you're doing. Sometimes, life can not be here tomorrow. And then what's going to happen? They're going to slide somebody right into your seat. Somebody's going to be there. And it's like, if we don't stop and like make a change in our lives to say, I want more, and I need to communicate that realistic expectations, as I love to do that when I teach my clients in our core section of the Shira program, is that you have to communicate what your expectations are to yourself, but then you have to learn to say it to others. You have to be able to tell others, listen, I love working here and I cannot put these kind of hours in that I've been putting in. So we need to get me help, or we need to look at what are our priorities, right? We have to have those conversations. And oftentimes people are afraid, especially women are afraid to have those conversations because they're afraid I'm going to lose my job. They're not going to think I'm valuable, or they're, all these negatives, judging, saboteur thoughts come in our head. And if we don't do and make a radical change, we're never going to have time for me. We're never going to say yes to me and no to others, because we're going to not only do that at our job, at our professional career, or even in our businesses. Sometimes we find ourselves working so much in our business that we forget to take the time out and step away so that we can really be present the way we want to be in our businesses. And so it's important. It's important to learn that lesson that we're talking about today with you, Heather. So the listeners that are hearing this, I hope they're taking notes. Like, what are your priorities? Like, what are those things that you want to do that you're not doing right now because you're giving to somebody else so much, or you're giving to your career so much, or you're giving to your business too much? And where do you have to start setting your boundaries? I always say, I have a cousin that's going through some major changes in her life. And I'm like, she's talking about changing X, Y, Z. I'm like, don't do them all at one time. Pick one thing. What's the most important thing? And then from there, let's work with that one thing and help you get there. Because if you do too many things at one time, you're not going to accomplish one, because you're going to always feel like you're juggling, right? And so I think it's a powerful message to remind everybody, 2 years ago, those that have been following our show, they know that I lost our son. We lost our son in a tragic car accident. And, in 2015, if I go back further, that's when I really realized I need to figure out who the heck I was. I was putting everybody else before me, and I wasn't showing up for me. And so my boys got to see me do that. And so it's really important that we learn this lesson. Unfortunately, it was a reminder, a hard reminder that, Matthew, before he passed, and my son Nate, who just got married a couple weeks ago, that they both start seeing me step into who I was so that I can show up the way I want to for others. And so, and communicating that expectation to ourselves is important. We have to learn, what do we want from ourselves? Like, what do we want for our self-care? What are you not doing today that you were saying, man, I need to get this done, but I got to go do this, or I got to be at this place, right? If you are having those thoughts right now, you need to write those down. What are those things you want to get done? And then we need to reach out to somebody like Heather or myself and, and ask for help, because there's nothing wrong in asking for help. There's great, it used to be, the thought was, oh, if I go get a therapist, that's taboo. There's something wrong with me. No, there's nothing. If I get a coach, why do I need a coach? I can do this. But sometimes you just need that guidance, that somebody could say, bounce it off of me. Let me walk you through it. Like I was just saying, tell my cousin, pick one thing. Don't do three things at one time, because you can't juggle a ball that way. And so that whole red light thing really reminds me to say to the listeners, don't wait for your red light. Don't. And here's the thing, Heather made it through the red light. She's here today. You may not make it through that red light. And then tomorrow, when, and I talk about this, I'm going to throw this out here right now. We're going to get heavy fast. If tomorrow doesn't come for you and all your family and friends can say what they saw you do for yourself at your eulogy, not what you did for others, not where you volunteered, not the titles you wear, but what they really physically saw you do, whether you, like me, I go for a walk, I go on a staycation, I sit in my front porch swing. What kind of things can they say they see you do for yourself that it's allowed you to show up for them? If you can't think of something that each one of your closest friend, like your 5 closest friend and 5 closest family members will say about you, you definitely need a coach. And that's, what are your thoughts on that, Heather?
It's like 100% true. And it's interesting. You're talking about red light. So the universe is constantly trying to nudge you in the direction of your purpose and your dreams, and like the things that are going to make you super excited. And when it's not getting your attention, it just keeps talking louder. And that's those moments where sometimes you don't make it through, right? I mean, it could be that your soul agreement was you were going to end at that point. But at the same time, it's like, I can remember time, like little nudges before that I wasn't paying attention to. Like I herniated a disc in my back. And I thought, oh, no, it's fine. I'll just do the physio exercises. It didn't stop me sitting at a desk. And that was what caused it. So you're constantly getting nudges. And sometimes you don't see them until you look back in retrospect after you finally go, whoa. But it's true. If you aren't taking stock of what makes you happy, because we spend most of our lives trying to make sure that everybody around us, this is women especially, trying to make sure you don't upset your parents, and then you have a boyfriend, and you're trying to, and you're keeping everybody happy. You're keeping your kids happy. I've seen moms who are not sleeping because their 6-year-old still isn't sleeping through the night, and they keep bringing her into the bed. I'm like, okay, well, how does that helping you? I mean, even your relationships. So there's lots of reasons why people do these things. But if you're not, there's a coach that I talked to, she said, if you're not filling your own cup, and she said, not fill it up to pour it into someone else, but fill it up so it's overflowing. Was that you, Pearl, who said that? So it's overflowing, so that you have the overflow helps other people. You stay full the whole time. And I think if you think about the difference between advocating for yourself as a woman, what popped in my head was, oh, women nag so much. Oh my God, they're always complaining. Where men, oh, he's very authoritative and says what he thinks. He's a man's man. Like, what? That's bull, friends. But there's ways to do it. And I think sometimes the approach for women is because they don't feel confident in saying it, it doesn't come across as, I'm asking because this is important. It's like, is it okay if I ask for this? Like, it's the energy behind it. And I don't know if you've read Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. He says, it's okay to say no, and it's okay to ask for what you want, but don't be a jerk. So stand in your shoes, realize that you're the only person who's here for you your whole life. And if you don't speak for yourself and go after the things that you want for yourself, no one else is going to do it for you. So you just end up in this crappy place, potentially, unless you stumble into your perfect life. You could end up in a crappy place and be unhappy and then get to the end and go, wow, I should have, right?
Yeah, I love one of the things I always tell my clients when I work with them is life is not a remote. You can't rewind it, right? So you can't go back and oh, I should have. Oh, let me go do it. No, you can't. It's not going to happen. And it's so like you said, like that red light. I just keep thinking the red light moments. Like, what's your red light moment? And really like you said about the book, it's like stand in that no. Don't be like oh, and when you ask for something, don't be like well, maybe you can help me do this. No, if you need it, be like, hey, this is what I'm working on and I need help. Whether it's something at home, whether it's something, at the office, whatever that is. I remember when I start really stepping into becoming who I am today, stepping into that, I need to start saying no and showing up for me. I had to communicate that at home first, right? I had to tell my
Yeah.
kids, I'm not always going to be available for everything. I'm going to go in the room, I'm going to go read a book, or I might take a bath. And unless the house is on fire, your dad's home. If you got to go to the hospital, he'll take you, he'll call me. Right. So, to that extreme, I had to like be really communicated. And the thing is like that was teaching them boundaries as well as setting boundaries for myself. And like you're saying, self-care can be micro moments. Just like you said, it could be even moments with your loved ones. Self-care is also sitting down and watching a movie with your spouse or sitting down and watching a silly cartoon with your kids. I mean, the old Barney movies that shows, I remember watching those sometimes with my kids, that stupid purple dinosaur. But, so those kind of things, those are moments. And the thing is like, if you do have kids or a significant other, you can create moments with them. Like I used to go and my oldest played football. So we used to go get mani-pedis together. And I'm telling you, our nail tech, she would laugh at our conversations because we would talk about everything from girlfriends to sex to the football games, whatever, we'd have great conversations. And that's what you're doing is you're setting up the self-care for you. But if you've got littles or you've got others that you care about, that maybe they're also not doing self-care. So maybe invite them along with you to go a nail, go to the movies, whatever that is, and engage in conversations about what's going on with them. Ask them, because the other part that leads to this is that especially as you get to midlife, you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I mean, I just turned 60 2 weeks ago. I don't feel like I'm 60 at all, and it's like, and I feel like I don't even look like it, but that's just who I say. But the thing is like when you step into what you believe and manifest, and that's what can happen as we hit that midlife, that's when women start looking back going, oh, what have I done? Right. Where if we can, my whole thing with like the show is that hopefully those that are, not hit midlife yet, the younger you, that you start having a conversation with yourself going, hey, I heard Heather and Pearl talking today about I need to start doing something for me. And I don't need to wait till my kids are older. Your kids, your littles, even if they're 6 months old, you can still do stuff for yourself. You can create those boundaries in those moments because, the thing that I don't like is the word stay-at-home mom, because I'm like, you're not a stay-at-home mom. And I work with my clients, I go, you're a CEO mom. Let's just understand the four walls where you are living at, that's your business. You're running a business. You're getting kids off to school. So you're getting them off to a meeting. You're getting a spouse off to work. You're helping them make a meeting. You're doing laundry. That's a task you're doing to run that household. So I'm like, you're a CEO mom. So stop calling yourself a stay-at-home mom, because I don't think you're staying home all day and eating bonbons and watching soap operas anymore. We're way too busy today to be doing that, right? And so I tell them, so therefore, those people that are in the house, and I remember why I penned that CEO mom because of my sister-in-law, Melissa. I was visiting her and my brother, and my nephew was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old. And she's like, come on, we're going upstairs. Sean's going to put his clothes away. Let's go chat while he does that. I'm like going, he's going to do what? So she's like, yeah, he's going to put his clothes away. It's not going to be perfect, but the act of doing, he's learning. I'm like, I love that. And that's where I came up. I go, you're giving tasks, you're giving your employees/children the art of learning to do something. And so it's really important, especially if you are that CEO mom, whether you are at home during the day and don't go to a professional career, or you are that professional woman or dad who's running both, home and work, you still have roles of people in that house that can play a role in what's happening in the home. And so we don't have to do it all anymore. And I think that also goes back to generational stuff. Like I said, I'm 60. So generationally, my granny, she did everything, right? She didn't work out of the house. She took care of everything. She made homemade biscuits. She made homemade cinnamon rolls and dinner all the time. And kids got to school and all that stuff that we do today. But then get to my mom, and my dad did 3 tours in Vietnam, so my mom was, working out of the house, and she was coming home having to run the house. So, and now we're in this generation where we're always on the go. Most people are working out of the home, and still running like crazy getting the kids stuff done, right? So it's important to know if you're listening to us today that you don't have to do it all, that you have to put yourself first, because then you can show up for those people you love and everything 100%. And I think that's an important message we have to remember to always do. And if you struggle with that, that's where Heather and somebody like me can come in and help you set up those boundaries, figure out what those boundaries are. One thing I love, Heather, is talking about your joy list. Like, what brings you joy? What are the 10 things that you can write down that bring you joy? And it's not just going, oh, my kids. Hey, my kids bring me joy, but sometimes they bring me stress too, right? So what about your kids bring you joy, right? Like, really delve deep into it. Like, what about what you do brings you joy? And once you do that and you start working on the things that bring you joy, then you can start doing that not to-do list. They stop letting other people break my boundaries, stop giving myself self-sabotaging thoughts. And so those are things that I know that I love working on. But Heather, tell us, what are some of the things that when you work with your clients, what do you see some of the big challenges when they start stepping into putting themselves first, start stepping into this self-care journey?
So I know that I'm just going to think, like, one thing that you said kind of piqued me, and it's, the stay at home mom. So we have this idea that when we find the thing that we were meant to do, it's like, has to be Hollywood worthy. You know, everything has to be epic, but it doesn't. I mean, my feeling is if you are the best CEO mom and that's what really makes you happy, that's what you're meant to do. If you're make an epic garden, that's what you're meant to do. I mean, it doesn't have to be something that, you're going to have 1 million followers on Instagram. That's a false fame and a false reason for being. I want people to feel like the thing that lights them up, don't diminish it. If it makes you happy, then it makes you happy. And it doesn't matter if people think it's important or not, because it is important, because it makes you happy. And I love the joy list, and I love the not to-do list. And one of the things that often happens, and you can see this even when people just decide to take better care of their health, and let's say they decide to lose weight, because this is so common. This is such a common one. People decide, and this isn't even, you're transforming your life with a life coach or anything. This is just, you say, okay, I want to take better care of myself. I need to lose a little bit of weight. What you don't realize is that the relationships that you have right now in your life, there's an unwritten subtext agreement with those people, that you are like this and I am like this. So when you start to change anything in your life, and maybe it's setting boundaries, maybe it's you've lost 10 pounds and your friends are like, oh my God, she's lost 10 pounds. And they do it subconsciously. They're not trying to sabotage you, but they want you to stay the way you were, because that was the agreement of how you would be in the relationship. So they won't on purpose sabotage you, but they might say, oh, come on, it's just one cupcake. Or, oh, come on, you can skip that workout. Let's go out drinking. And that's not because they want to make you fail. It's because they don't want to look at themselves. So anytime you're changing yourself, whatever it is, that's just an easy example. Whatever you're trying to change, it's going to change the relationships of everyone around you, with you. And they may struggle with navigating. Oh, now she asks for what she wants. She never did that before. So what do I do with that? And am I doing things wrong? So they think they're doing something. Like, they'll look at themselves and go, am I doing stuff wrong? Oh my God. Yeah. So it sets this ripple out, which I think is a good ripple, because when you start, like you said, if you can demonstrate, this is how you treat me, people will see that as an example. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Like, my whole purpose is to create people who are comfortable with, this is what I'm meant to do, and this is what I love doing, and this is how I'm going to do it. And everybody should be doing the same thing, because that'll send it out into the world. Because if everybody could find that joy place, that happy place, I don't think we would have the discord that we have in the world, and the distrust. And this goes a whole, like, that's like my bigger bigger, hairy life vision is everybody, peace and love. But but it's very hard when you're changing. If this is why I have a coach, because when I was making changes, my friends want to support me. My family wants to support me, but they don't know how. And their advice, even if I ask them, I'm trying to do something, what do you think? Their advice is going to come from their fears and their understanding and the context of how our relationship works and their own agenda, even if they don't realize it. They might think they're being impartial in giving you advice, but it does follow their own agenda. Where when you have a coach, they have no agenda. Their stake is to help you find what you need. And I don't know about you, Pearl. I never tell anybody what to do. I just ask them lots of questions, and then they figure out with some questioning.
Yeah, you said a couple of things there. So to what you were just saying just now, yeah, I have clients that will come to me and they've worked with other coaches before, right? And I'm like, so why me? And they're like, well, I watch you on, I'm on social media often, or, they hear me on the show here, Conversations with Pearl, and they'll say, I never hear you say you have to do something, right? You're always like, this is what to do. And they'll tell me, I work with the coach, and they'll also say, you're very real. I mean, I share my journey of my grief journey, and I share what happens into my everyday life. And so they're like, you're real. You're not like, tell me to do something and you're not doing it. Right. And so they're like, I want to work with somebody like that. I'm like, okay, then, I'm going to push you. It's not going to be easy. I'm going to push you. But I like what you're saying. I'm going to go back to what you're saying too, about when you start making changes in our lives and people, those that love us, they're scared of that change because they don't know how it's going to affect them. And like you said too, it's also, they got to look in the mirror. My cousin is making some big changes in her life and she's setting boundaries. And because she's setting boundaries, some of those people that are really close to her are trying to break the boundaries to the point they're actually trying to come around and sabotage me because I'm guiding her, and they're trying to say, oh, but you're following what she's saying. And they're like, no, these are my decisions. And I explained to her, I'm like, this is part of setting boundaries. It's about learning to do boundaries. You're going to set it. People are going to find whatever way they can dig or break down that, chisel away at the rock of getting to you and say, no, I'm coming in, and so don't be surprised when, if you're listening to us, you start making these changes that, like Heather was saying, like people are going to look at you and be like, I gotta look at myself. And it's so true. I thought of a story when I went on my weight loss journey. When I first started years ago, I didn't tell my husband I was doing this program, right? So I was like, because it wasn't in our budget and I really want to do it. So I was following it. Like I was one of the three of us friends that was not deviating off the program. I followed that program to a T. And so there's a little street by our house. It was a 2-lane to turn left. It was 2 lanes to turn left. And if you stay in the farthest right of the 2 left lanes, right there on the side, as soon as you turn, there's this Dunkin' Donuts. And so I loved Dunkin' Donuts. Here, they call it the manager special. It's basically a chocolate iced donut with whipped cream in the middle, like a nice whipped cream. And it's so, so good. It's creamy and it just tastes so good. And so I called my friend when I was sitting at the light and I was in that far right left lane. I'm like, oh my gosh, Sherry. I'm like, I really want that Dunkin' Donuts manager special today. She's like, why? I'm like, I don't know. She goes, you've done so good out of all of us. I go, oh no, I feel like it's calling my name. And she's like, she thought she talked me off the ledge, right? So I had the angel and the devil on one shoulder each. And they're going, well, you're weighing in today, so it's not going to show up right now. It's going to, da 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 da. I'm like, so the devil won. I went to the drive-through. I got my manager special. I ate it on the way to go check in and do our weigh-in that we do every week together. And I sat down next to my friend, and the coach was running late that was seeing us. And I looked at her and I said, I had that manager special. And she said, how'd that feel? I said, it tasted pretty good, but I can really taste the sugar in it now that I don't have the sugar. She goes, yeah, but you just lost 3 days on the diet. I'm like, what? I lost 3 days on the diet? What are you talking about? She goes, yeah, when you spike up your sugar, it takes 3 days for it to come back down. I was like, man, you should have told me that on the phone, because that means I just lost a week's worth of this program, and it's like $80 a week program. I could have gone to the mall and bought shopping. That's exactly what I said to her. And she just looked at me and she goes, you are hilarious. I'm like, I cannot believe I just spent $80 on a donut. That's all I did for that next week. So let me tell you, I stayed on track the rest of that time. Like we'd go out, my friends, my other friend and I, who was doing the program with us, we were just talking about that last week. How we were letting people influence us around us about how we did this program, and it's true. People, I read an article, and I don't know what the article, so I can't quote the article, but I read an article. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. So if the 5 people you hang out with are doing unhealthy choices, you're more than likely going to make those unhealthy choices with them, right? Or, if you're hanging around 5 people who are miserably sad all the time and depressed, guess what? You're going to be miserable, sad all the time, depressed, right? So who's on your balcony, like who's sitting on your balcony is so, so important. Would you agree, Heather?
Yeah, and I was thinking, because sometimes it's not about, like, I talk about physical health and emotional health, but you reminded me, I have a client, have a client. She was so miserable at work, but it was who was in the room with her. It was like her coworkers, because she didn't feel valued. She felt like she was being undermined. She felt like she wasn't being listened to, and that, she was working so hard for these people and she was solving their problems, but they weren't giving her any credit for it. And we were trying to, because she was actually came to me because she was like, I'm super unhealthy. I want to, get healthier. What we figured out was it was her job, because the people that were with her were toxic and making her unhappy. So she's in the same role, but she's in a new company and she's happier, and they love her, and they love all the work that she's doing, and she's able to have that happier state of mind. So she's taking better care of herself, because it is like the relationships around you, your job, all of these things affect you, and they show up in weird ways sometimes. So maybe you you needed to realize you were spending $80 on a donut. Whoa. And she just needed to realize that she was eating because she was unhappy in her job, not because she was a
Yeah,
bad
it's
person.
yeah, doing the it's interesting what you're talking about. I was thinking about here you were, you're an accountant, right? You're helping her do an audit of her life, who she's hanging around with, right? And it's so, so true. I was having a conversation with somebody because I'm actually getting ready to be trained in grief coaching. That's my next journey because I fought it for so long, Heather. God puts these things in front of us, with the loss of our son almost 2.5 years ago. It's like somebody talked to me about it like last year, and her name's Terry. I'm doing a training through her. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know if I want to rip a Band-Aid off of my emotions all the time. Like, I got to sit on it. And then my other friend, who actually, she lost her son too in a tragic car accident. She actually, we tell each other we wish we never met each other, because we met each other because we lost our boys. But she sat with my husband and I while we are going through the planning process. That's how I met her. She worked at the funeral home that we used for my son's services. And she got trained, and we were both having conversations around, there's so much need and there's different areas of grief and stuff. But I remember I was talking with somebody and I was like, we have to do an inventory of who we're hanging out with. We have to do an inventory of, what do we want in our life? We have to do that, that checklist of, am I where I want to be today? And if not, what do I need to change? And like you said with your client, she needed to change people she was hanging out with, who she was working with, because that's what was bringing her down. And that's hard in itself, because finding new work is that's a whole nother realm, is that stress. But at the end of the game, it's so important for your health is to make sure, like we're saying here, that if you're not happy, other people around you are not happy, because if you're not happy, it rolls downhill, as they say. And so it's really, really important that I'm glad we're talking about this today, because we want to, if you leave the end of the show as if your red light is about to hit you, what change do you need to make? Where do you need to make that change? And who do you need to help make that change? I think it's a great conversation to have with yourself, to call a coach, ask a mentor, wherever that applies to you, and have that conversation with yourself. Journal about it, write about it, whatever works for you. Heather, so I want to just do a little switch here. I'm watching the time. Our time's running fast here. So
We got a lot to talk about.
I know we could go on and on, I'm telling you. So if somebody's listening and they're like, I need to start doing something for my self-care, what's one of the favorite things that I know you do yoga. I love yoga. I think yoga is amazing. We bring it to our retreats and everything. What's something that you think is a simple thing to start doing for the listener for self-care? What's like one, if they could only do one thing right now, what would that be for them?
This is going to sound funny because I have so much background in all of this wellness stuff. People who are just like in this state where I don't know, I just don't know, I just don't know. I ask them 5 minutes. I want you to stare out the window and daydream. And that's all. Because if I tell them to do a task, it feels like it's too much, because I call myself a real life coach, because if we come up with solutions, they're going to fit your life now. Like, we are going to change your life, but like you said, don't do too many things because it'll overwhelm you. So I say, let's start with daydreaming. They're like, what do I do? What do I daydream about? Nothing. That's what daydreaming it is. You just sit and you stare out the window and let your mind wander and let it do whatever it wants to do. Set a timer if you're worried it's going to take you too long to daydream. Stare at a tree and just let your mind wander. Because it's when your mind has that ability to stop being task-oriented. The task-oriented part of your brain's not very creative. It just does. You need the other part of your brain, the right, if you want, right side of your brain, to be able to just float around and do nothing. So when you're not trying to solve a task, that's when creative ideas come to you. That's when realizations come to you. That's when your brain has a moment to rest. The task part of your brain has a moment to rest. So I just say, for the next week, daydream 5, even 10 minutes, if you can spare 10 minutes. And if something comes to you, write it down. You don't have to do anything with it. Just write it down. And just let that take some hold on you, because this is where you're going to make some realizations. No pressure on your creative mind to make any realizations, but this is where it's easy to implement and things can start to happen.
I love that, daydreaming. So you guys heard it here. If you're going to do one thing, just go daydream. I mean, how many of us do that? Sometimes we just stare off at our phones or something. How about put all that down and just go look out the window, like Heather said, and just do some daydreaming? I think that's such great advice. I love that.
Sadly, I think a lot of our daydreaming time is now scrolling. So don't scroll.
Yeah, don't scroll. Yeah. So Heather, tell everybody how they can reach out to you and find you. I know you have a show, and I think, do you have a freebie too you want to share with anybody?
I have my website is heatherstewart.coach. The podcast is called Back to Me and it came about after my stroke, when I was like, I need to do more for everyone. And then the freebie is a little map. It's just a map to give you, to help you do a bit of a life audit. Like you said, it's like body, emotion, community, occupation, money, engagement. 6 little categories. Just have a quick audit of your life, and it'll help guide you into like where to start if you don't know where to start.
That is so cool. So we'll put all those in the link in the show notes and everything if you're listening to us. Now, I did forewarn Heather that we do our Better Questions, Better Life cards. So they're right here. I'm going to shuffle them. If you guys are listening for the first time, these are cards that my friend Carol Gill and her friend Diane Allen put together. They're called Better Questions, Better Life. I have half the stack here. There's about 70 cards, and you can, journal, pick a card every day, journal with it, meditate on it, or just have it as part of your day. So Heather, I'm going to shuffle them, and you're going to tell me when to stop, and we're going to see what the card is today. So you tell me when to stop.
Stop.
All right. Your card says, what am I worth? What are you worth, Heather?
I am worth everything that I can possibly dream of.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I did a conversation with Karen Gray. She's the Rock Mover podcast. And I was just editing her podcast yesterday to make some shorts. And one of them was, you are born, because you were born, you have amazing value. So what you are worth is everything. You are worth everything. You are worth everything you can dream of, everything that you think, oh no, that's too much. It's not too much.
No.
There is no limit on the possibilities of what is possible. So I know it took me some time, friends. I've been working on this for quite a while now, like 20 years at least, of realizing that I am worth speaking for myself. I am worth taking responsibility for my life to create what I want. And I am worth all the goods and the bads. because the bads are lessons. So I'm worth everything.
I love that. I think that's a great example of what somebody should be saying about themselves for what their worth is, because you are, and you're worthy of what's to come too, right? It's like we're worthy of what's in the horizon. You know, we're worthy to go through the challenges and the fears so that we can come on the other side and see the beauty of what was waiting for us. And then we had to go through those. Sometimes we're like, oh, like you said, oh, it's too hard. No, you're worthy of the hard. The hard is the easy part. It's what comes after the hard. It's like there really is when the work starts happening, is what I feel often.
It's funny. I saw there's a guy that I follow. Okay, I do scroll sometimes on Instagram who has the best little memes about the universe and God or whoever's sending you your challenges. And, he's talking to your soul. Oh, so you want to, achieve this. Okay, more challenges. Because saying you can't achieve things if you're not challenged. So if you are blessed with challenges, yeah, own it
I
and
love
step
it.
up. And when you come to the other side, you'll go, I'm at the top of the mountain. It's like,
I love that. That's one of the reasons why I love doing it. So every year we just finished our 8th annual pajama retreat in September. Our next one's coming up next year. So it's a 4-day retreat, no makeup. You're in your PJs or yoga pants all weekend long. You can let your tatas hang loose, we tell everybody, and then just have a lot of fun. And the thing is, people ask me, why do you do no makeup? And I always say, because we can get to the true you. We could start really working on what's inside, because sometimes we put makeup on, it's just to cover up what we're feeling and our what the emotions are that we're having at the moment. And so people laugh. And so next year we're coming back to Tampa. So if you're listening to us, I'm giving a little plug here. Go to go to wslivingretreats.com. That's wslivingretreats.com, because we have this year's price for next year's retreat. And we're going to be in Tampa. And the really cool thing is we're going to actually do a summit the day prior to the retreat here locally to have a mini self-care day for yourself. Even if you can't make the retreat, at least give yourself one day, a few hours out of the day to do something for you. So I tell everybody, I'm going to tell everybody now, come daydream with us for the day.
yeah.
So come daydream with us for the day, because it's so powerful. Heather, this has been so much fun having this conversation with you. I'm so glad we made it through the technical stuff this morning. Our editor's going to have fun with
We've
all of that.
overcome a challenge.
Yeah, right. That's right. We did the challenge. We had a challenge. I love it. So we'll put all that stuff in chat and everything. But I just want to remind everybody that's listening and or watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe to the show. Leave a review. We love reviews as well. But just remember, you come into this world, you're this oyster on the outside. It's a little rough. You got to go through your challenges. You got to walk through some fear. But when you do, when you open up that oyster, what's always inside is this beautiful pearl. So I hope you guys go out today and find your inner pearl of greatness. And Heather, again, thank you so much for reminding us to not wait till the red light shows up.
Thanks, Pearl.